Hey, Jenny.
Hi, sir. Good day.
Good day. All right. So today we got another question from our student.
Sure.
Right. So can you read this for me, please?
Sure thing, sir. So the question was, I really wanted to improve my speaking skill. I have 900 in TOEIC, but I really cannot speak. So which subject should I take?
Okay. Right. So I would say this is very typical. We have a lot of students with really high score on TOEIC, but for some reason can't speak very well. Would you agree?
I definitely agree, sir. I come across different students with the same situation.
Right. It's very common amongst the Japanese students, I would say. What do you think? Why do you think this is happening?
In my perspective, I guess the students in most cases they're being centered with the idea of passing
Yeah,
or
like getting
getting a
higher
high.
score. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So getting a high TOEIC score. And when it comes to improving your speaking skills, I think it's a matter of having chance or opportunity to use English or to speak the language
Mm,
in order for you to improve your skills on speaking.
So whereas if you're taking TOEIC, your goal is to choose the right answer and mark it down.
Exactly.
That's not speaking at all. Okay.
Right.
So
I
even
totally
TOEIC,
agree.
yeah, and TOEIC only tests your reading and listening only too. Your speaking is never tested. All right. So maybe his way of studying was never geared toward actually speaking the language.
I think so.
Okay. Another problem I can see is that their grammar knowledge is not connected with how they're supposed to use that knowledge, right? Like, for example, you can know all the grammar rules, but if you don't know when and how, like, it's kind of useless, right?
Exactly. You mean like there is no practical usage of what you have learned theoretically.
Right. It's like learning how to swim via book, but you never really swam in the water. That's not gonna work.
That reminds me of something. I mean, I cannot swim, and then yeah, that's actually the case. Uh, like in school, so they taught us how to swim, like different strokes, for example, but there's no actual,
Yeah,
swimming pool where we can apply what we
yeah.
have learned in lessons. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. So something like that. Okay. Next up is like so what this student can do, right? There are three things I want to figure out. One is like what classes should he or she be taking? That's one. Another one is what this person can do in his spare time, right? So let's talk about the self-study activity first, because that's something that he has control over, right?
Right.
Do you have any ideas as to what this student can do?
I think the best thing, sir, on top of everything is to think in English. For example, just to give a scenario, when you wanted to decide what food to eat, perhaps you're in a restaurant. So at least try or use that chance to think in English, even if you really don't, speak it out. But I mean,
Hmm.
you don't, say it in front of someone, but at least you're thinking in English. So you're
Hmm.
exercising your brain in that way.
Hmm. I can relate to that. I used to do something similar, but I didn't do it in the restaurant. I did it in my own room because
Oh,
I didn't want to embarrass myself.
so
But
you're like talking to yourself in
yeah,
that
well, I
case.
would be like talking to a mirror or talking to a wall, and like
Yeah, that can be.
yeah, like explaining my ideas or my schedule for the weekend or whatever that might be, and that way at least I get to like think in English and say it, right? And then sometimes I can't words wouldn't come out because I don't know the right words for it, or I don't know the right grammar rules for it. Then I would look up, and so I can formulate the sentence that I wanted to say, and that would like gradually build up over time. So
Right.
it worked really well. To my brothers, I probably looked weird, but what would I care?
Okay, at least you were able to improve your English. I mean, your speaking skills through it. So
I did that.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, I did it maybe for like 2 years.
I see.
Yeah, it really helped because I didn't really have a whole lot of opportunity to speak English back then when I was like 17. So, I needed some practice. So might as well talk to a wall, right?
Right. Yes, and maybe I can add to that, as you are talking to mirror or a wall. So it's better to focus on English fluency, so not grammar, as what you have emphasized.
True. Because in reality, no one's going to wait for you. You want to be able to spit out your ideas. So
Exactly.
if I couldn't say quick enough, I wouldn't formulate a long sentence. I would just break down to shorter, smaller sentences and just say it. So there's no pause, no long pause, right? So that's what I try to avoid. And yeah, in reality, when you have long pause, the listener will say, "I'll forget it," and they will just walk away.
Definitely.
That had happened to me many times.
Oh.
Okay. Well, another idea I have is like just listen to real conversations, like via Netflix or YouTube or whatever. Back in my days, the radio was the only option, so I used to listen a lot. There was this radio station called Far East Network, and it was all in English. So I used to listen to that like in the mornings, and like an hour at a time. And what was good about it is I was able to actually connect all the grammar knowledge that I had to actual use of those rules, right? I'm like, oh, that's how you say it. Oh, that's how you connect these words, simple stuff like that. So over time, I was able to like get more practical ways to say things, so that worked really well too.
Yes, I definitely agree on that idea, sir. So like it's just a matter of not really focusing on studying, you're saying, but rather even if you just have anything, English song, for example, or as what you have said, a certain English material as a background noise. And then from there, subconsciously you're working.
Yeah.
You're exposing yourself to English background.
I agree. All right, so let's move on to the next question, which is like, what classes should this person take?
Sure.
What's your recommendation?
Yeah, if I may, I would highly suggest the person to start with daily conversation.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. Listening and speaking class has like a lot of like pressure built in, basically. Like, okay, you got 2 minutes window to speak and stuff, and people get worked up. And so if you're already like intermediate, that's a good class to pressure yourself and get it going. But if you're like afraid to speak, afraid to make mistakes, I think daily conversation is the way to go.
I definitely agree.
Yeah. And then another idea I have is to take the counseling session at least once, because we provide really detailed assessment of your English capability. So you know exactly what weaknesses you have and what strengths you have, what you need to work on, what classes you should take and stuff like that. And
yes, and definitely with the counseling sessions, sorry, just to add, you can focus on your, like what skills you're trying to improve. Okay, like for example, what skills is your top priority to improve this time? And then aside from that, the counselor would also provide you like frequency according to the availability that you have as to how many times you should take this class. So like we are suggesting DC and LS perhaps, so at least you can have a guide or help as to how to balance taking those classes in a span of 1 week, for example. Yes.
Okay. Sounds good. So I guess let's wrap this up. So the number one, the student is not able to speak fluently, probably because he has been focused on getting high score in TOEIC, but not speaking. And number two, good way to exercise your brain is to start thinking in English. Maybe in a restaurant or on the street or in your room, either with voice or voiceless, doesn't matter. Just exercise your brain to form sentences. Correct?
Right.
And then maybe instead of trying to form long sentences, break it down to shorter sentences, yet respond faster. Maybe that's one good way to go. A lot of students try to formulate really long, complex sentences, and they just kind of fall apart. So instead of doing that, go shorter and quicker.
I definitely agree. So in order for you not to get overwhelmed with, so much ideas in mind, so try to focus on expressing yourself clearly and directly.
Okay. So then lastly, in terms of what classes to take, you recommend daily conversation. And
yes, sir.
We also recommend taking counseling session to figure out what your strengths and weaknesses are.
Right.
Okay. Anything to add?
I think that would be all then.
Okay.
So it's just a matter of, being exposed to English environment.
Agree. All right. So I guess we can call it done. And then if you like the content that you're watching, please click like and hit subscribe. And then thank you for watching. All right. See you.
Thank you.
See you, Jenny.
Thank you.
Bye.